The first time Leo met Sam, it was over a shared tragedy, a dropped scoop of mint chocolate chip ice cream. They were 6 years old, sitting on a peeling red bench at the edge of the neighborhood park. Sam had looked at Leo's tear-stained face, looked down at his own perfectly intact strawberry cone, and without a word, handed it over. That silent exchange set the tone for the next decade. They were a study in contrasts. Sam was the sail restless, loud, and constantly chasing the horizon. Leo was the anchor quiet, observant, and the one who always knew where the house keys were. By the time they hit high school, they were inseparable. They developed a shorthand language made of inside jokes and subtle nods. Their friendship was the constant backdrop to the chaos of puberty. While other boys formed and dissolved cliques like bubbles, Sam and Leo remained fixed. They spent summers biking to the old quarry, the air smelling of pine needles and sun-warmed asphalt. On those long afternoons, they talked about everything and nothing. Sam talked about leaving their small town to see the lights of Tokyo or London. Leo talked about the comfort of the hills surrounding them. The first cracks in their childhood bubble appeared during senior year. The pressure of what comes next began to weigh on them. Sam was filling out applications for distant universities, his eyes always on the door. Leo, whose father had fallen ill, was looking at local community colleges to stay close to home. One evening, sitting on that same red bench now, repainted a dull maroon, the silence between them felt heavy for the first time. "You're going to go, aren't you?" Leo asked. Sam didn't look at him. "I have too, Leo, but nothing changes. We're the same." Leo nodded, but he felt the first tug of the anchor's rope stretching thin. Distance, they discovered, wasn't just measured in miles. It was measured in time zones and missed calls. Sam's life in New York was a whirlwind of neon lights and late-night architecture studios. Leo's life was a steady rhythm of morning shifts at the hardware store and evening classes. In the beginning, they spoke every day. But slowly, every day became every weekend, and eventually, whenever we can. Their shorthand language began to fail. Sam would mention names Leo didn't know. Leo would talk about local changes that Sam no longer cared about. The sail was catching a gale-force wind, and the anchor was buried deep in the silt of their hometown. The lowest point came during their second year apart. Sam had promised to fly back for Leo's 21st birthday, but a last-minute internship offer kept him in the city. When Leo picked up the phone, expecting a happy birthday, he got an apology instead. "I can't pass this up, Leo. It's the firm I've wanted forever," Sam said, his voice tinny through the speaker. "I get it," Leo replied, though his chest felt hollow. It's just a birthday. I'll make it up to you, I promise." But making it up is a hard currency to trade across state lines. They went 3 months without speaking after that. Leo started hanging out with a new group of friends. People who knew the now version of him, not the boy who cried over ice cream. Yet, every time he saw a mint chocolate chip cone, he felt a ghost of a presence beside him. The friendship wasn't dead, but it was dormant, like a garden in winter. 4 years after high school, they finally stood face. It was Sam's sister's wedding. The air in the reception hall was thick with the scent of lilies and expensive perfume. Sam looked different, sharper, dressed in a suit that cost more than Leo's car. Leo looked older, his hands calloused from work, his posture sturdier. They stood at the open bar, the clinking of glasses filling the silence. "You look good, man," Sam said, though he looked uncomfortable. "You too. New York suits you," Leo replied. The tension snapped 2 hours later behind the reception tent. It started over something trivial, a comment Sam made about the slow pace of the town. "Not everyone wants to run away, Sam," Leo snapped. "I didn't run away. I grew up. You're still sitting on that same bench, waiting for life to happen to you," Sam shouted back. The words cut deep because they contained a grain of truth Leo was afraid to face. But Leo had his own truth. "I stayed because I had responsibilities. I stayed because people needed me. You just needed yourself." They stared at each other, The years of resentment and missed calls finally laid bare. It was the first time they had ever truly fought. It wasn't the silent, polite distance of the college years. It was a raw, ugly confrontation. For a moment, it looked like the sail would finally snap the rope and drift away forever. But then, Sam's shoulders slumped. The bravado of the big city architect vanished, leaving behind the boy from the red bench. "I missed you, Leo," Sam whispered, "and I was too proud to admit that I was lonely out there." Leo took a breath, the anger draining away. "I missed you too, even when I hated you for leaving." Rebuilding a friendship is harder than starting one. You have to navigate the ruins of who you used to be to find out who you are now. After the wedding, they made a pact: no more whenever we can. They scheduled a video call every Tuesday night, no exceptions. They had to learn to be friends as adults. This meant Sam learning to listen to Leo's stresses about his father's health without offering fix-it solutions from 1,000 miles away. It meant Leo learning to celebrate Sam's successes without feeling like he was being left behind. They realized that the anchor and sail dynamic wasn't a flaw, was their strength. When Sam's first major project was rejected, Leo was the one who grounded him, reminding him of his talent. When Leo finally decided to open his own woodworking shop, Sam was the one who pushed him to take the risk, helping him design the logo and the layout. They began taking halfway trips. They met in random cities: Chicago, Denver, Nashville, exploring places where neither had a history. In these neutral territories, they forged a new bond. They weren't just the kids from the park anymore. They were two men who chose to be in each other's lives. They discovered that friendship isn't about being identical. It's about being compatible. The sail needed the anchor to keep from drifting into the void. And the anchor needed the sail to remember that the world was wide and full of color. 10 years after that fight behind the wedding tent, they found themselves back at the neighborhood park. It was a crisp autumn afternoon, and the leaves were turning the color of rust and gold. They weren't alone this time. Sam's young daughter was sprinting toward the playground, and Leo's son was toddling behind her. They sat on a bench, a modern one made of recycled plastic, not the old redwood, and watched the next generation play. "She has your energy," Leo remarked, watching Sam's daughter attempt to climb the monkey bars. "And he has your patience," Sam laughed, watching Leo's son carefully inspect a ladybug. They sat in a silence that was finally comfortable again. It wasn't the silence of having nothing to say, but the silence of having said it all. They had survived distance, career changes, marriages, and the slow erosion of time. Their friendship had been tested, broken, and soldered back together until it was stronger at the joints than it had been in the beginning. Sam reached into a brown paper bag and pulled out 2 napkins. He handed one to Leo. "Remember the ice cream?" Sam asked. "I remember you giving me yours because you couldn't stand to see me snotting all over the place," Leo joked. "I gave it to you because you were my best friend," Sam corrected softly. "I just didn't know then that best friend was a lifetime appointment." As the sun began to dip below the hills, casting long shadows across the grass, they stood up to gather the children. They walked toward the parking lot, the anchor and the sail, moving in different directions, but tied together by a golden thread that no distance could ever break. They were no longer just friends. They were the architects of each other's history.